And now we're going to go live, Rich, on Zoom, and I'm letting people in. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. People are coming in. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to wherever you are in the world. A huge warm welcome from me and my wonderful friend Richard and colleague. We're going to be starting shortly. We're just letting people in and the numbers are climbing very nicely. For those of you who would like to watch us on Zoom on our live channel, it's also available on there. So a huge warm welcome to all of you from wherever you are in the world. Please pop your hellos in the chat box. Use the Q&A box as well, please, for any questions. We will obviously be opening the floor up to questions and answers at the end of this webinar. So a warm welcome from everybody coming in from all over the world. Hope the weather's beautiful wherever you are. Here in the UK, for those of you who are not in the UK, typical autumnal, wonderful, cool evening. The leaves have turned very orange and rustic reds and blue greens, and it's just beautiful just here in the UK. So people are coming in. We're getting some people coming in on the chat. Liverpool. Hello, good evening, Catherine from Liverpool. Welcome. So we've got people still coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a few minutes. I think we'll give everyone a bit of time just to join us. So please bear with us. There will be a recording of this sent to you in the follow-up tomorrow or the following day, but there will be a recording and it'll be available as well. Olga, hello, all the way from Oxford. And we've got Patricia Pinedo. Hello, Patricia. Where are you coming in from, Patricia? And Paris, we've got Anna from Paris coming in. A huge warm welcome to all of you. It's a real joy. Patricia, you from London. Wonderful. Beautiful London. Christmas lights are coming on early in London this year to help us with this incredible mindset and get us moving, looking forward to something. Christmas is, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, is just on our doorstep. We've got Anna from London. Hello. Numbers are coming in. We've got some great numbers coming in. So just after 6 o'clock, a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. We look so forward to these, and I just want to share with those of you coming in right now, there's a huge amount of time and energy and preparation that goes into these webinars. For those of you who are not familiar with webinars and the setup of webinars, an immense amount of back-end stuff goes into play here. Research, firstly, time spent writing the material and putting what's in our heads onto a piece of paper so that it flows beautifully. And again, then the admin team and people who really make all this magic happen. It's almost like abracadabra, that bunny rabbit pops out the hat. So, you know, really appreciate you coming on. And I know, and I'm sure you appreciate all the energy and effort that goes into these sort of things. And for those of you who've joined us, we've got wonderful Kathleen, hello from Virginia, USA. For those of you who have joined us on numerous occasions, as you know, we try our utmost to add huge value to you and to making a difference. So please do stay connected, do stay in touch. Keep an eye on our website for opportunities, for discounts, for things that can really help you sort of grow and succeed and take yourself to the next level. This is what this is all about. And this is purely the reason why the British School of Etiquette was really founded, is to bring people together, to bring cultures together, to get to know one another, to learn from one another, and to incorporate the good into our lives. So a huge warm welcome from wherever you are in the world. People are coming in, and I've got our wonderful colleague, Carol, who's been with the team for just over 2 years now, who really does create magic on our website and the webinars. And he's just popped everyone a question. Please, by all means, you know, send your greetings through on the chat. But when it comes to Q&A, please use the question and answer tab, which is at the bottom of your screen. Rich, we've got 40 people now on board. Do you want to give it another minute, or should we, what do you reckon?
I think we can get going, Phil.
Okay, super. I'm just going to close the chat down. People are still coming in, and I'm just going to drop that chat down. So again, repeating myself for the newcomers who've just joined, a huge warm welcome from me and my wonderful colleague Richard Cullinan, our EQ head of the faculty here at the British School of Etiquette. And it's a real joy. Tonight we thought we'd do something slightly different and not focus just predominantly on something hardcore of, you know, the fundamentals of getting into the nitty gritty of emotional intelligence. We really feel that right now, having a healthy lifestyle and a positive attitude to really improve your emotional health is hugely important. And, you know, they say a sound body, a sound mind, and there's that wonderful expression, my body is my temple. And we really do need to take huge control of our being and ourself, because without our health, we have nothing. You know, health is your wealth, and that is your mental health, and that's your physical health. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I know Richard's put a huge amount of energy and effort into preparing this evening's webinar. And I'm going to be, as always, asking Richard some questions and getting Richard to handle and give his perspective on the questions that I'm asking him. And at the end of the webinar, please stay on. We're keeping this webinar a little bit shorter than usual because we really want to open up the opportunity for you to connect and engage with us and really ask questions, find out how we can support you and help you. So, you know, I'd love to take this opportunity to really say, you know, just as our emotions have a direct impact on our brain's performance and our physical health, so too does our physical health, lifestyle, and mindset have a direct impact on our emotional life. And too often, you know, we just succumb to the moods and emotions we feel as if we have no power over them, only ready to find that we cannot think clearly because of it. Now, some of us also succumb to the pressures of modern day life by just grabbing a takeaway rather than cooking a beautiful, healthy meal, or we forego our beautiful morning opportunity in exercise and mindfulness to make that important meeting. You know, we sometimes get carried away, you know, with watching a late night series. We get sucked in and drawn in. And especially now that we're working from home, this is something that I think a lot of us have got into this habit. I'm guilty, you know, Kerry and I, my wife and I, we often get so engrossed into an incredible episode of something and we go, oh my hat, look at the time. So again, you know, that late night series, only to find that our performance to work the next day really can knock you and compromise your adaptability, not only at your energy and your sound mind and the way you think. And now these choices that we have and we make really directly impact us on an emotional level and our ability to handle stress and anxiety. You know, I know for one that if I go, I get a puncture and I know when I'm going down. And I've learned that about myself. Before, I couldn't understand why I was behaving in certain ways. And so it's about being gentle, you know, and we really are, I suppose, what's the word I'm looking for? This often happens without sort of consciousness, and the choices that we make, our mindset and our attitude can really be measurably sort of enhanced and kick in on our emotional life and work performance. And we really remain hostage to a life which is not only less than what we are capable of, it's also not really nearly as vibrant, present, and fulfilling as it really could be. Now, in this webinar, we will explore 5 key questions that will describe how our bodies and our lifestyle choices and our emotions are really deeply entwined. And when they work in harmony together, we can really improve our overall health, well-being, and success in life. And I truly believe that. You know, I'm going to contradict myself. I said occasionally we get wrapped up into a late night evening by being caught on a program on Netflix. But generally, I've learned over many years to really follow some fundamental core skills and principles. So this leaves me now, Rich, to really open up some questions to you, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So my first question to you, Rich, is how do our emotions really affect our brain's performance?
Thank you for the question, Phil, and welcome everybody. It's wonderful to be back on a webinar with the British School of Etiquette. I think to answer this question, we firstly need to understand or get a grasp of the kind of world that we're living in and how important it is for our brains to function at an optimum level. apart from the major shifts that we're experiencing, particularly now in business and in society, we are also faced with existential threats like climate change and the changing landscape and geological landscape of the world that we're living in. We're also facing an existential threat, especially some people with their jobs, when we look at artificial intelligence and we look at robotics in business. And I just mentioned the pandemic, so we're also facing this health pandemic with the coronavirus, which is changing the way we work. A lot of us are working remotely. A lot of businesses have had to pivot to survive, and they've had to change in order to survive in the world that we live in today. Now, to thrive under these circumstances, we need to develop our ability to become complex problem solvers, both on a creative as well as critical thinking level. We need to be flexible and adaptable and agile thinkers. We also need to be able to learn and process information accurately and speedily to stay ahead and to survive and to thrive and achieve our goals. We need to coordinate our efforts intelligently so that we can collaborate with others to get where we want to go in life. Now, to do this effectively, as I said, our brains have to operate at the best way that they can, at the optimum level. Now, the way your brain works is the transmission of messages between brain cells. When that goes smoothly, you're able to think clearly and flexibly and intelligently. If that transmission of messages is blocked or inhibited, then you struggle to think clearly, effectively, and flexibly. Now, there are two categories of these chemicals that transmit messages between our brain cells. Firstly is you have inhibiting chemicals, and then you have neurotransmitters. To make it clearer for you, I'm just going to pop up a slide. Now, there are categories of these chemicals that transmit messages between our brain cells. Firstly is you have inhibiting chemicals, and then you have neurotransmitters.
Go ahead, Rich.
To make it clear, okay. I'm going to pop up a slide. There is some talking going on in the background there.
Sorry, I believe we've got a crosswires here, so I'm just turning that off. Sorry, Rich, that was our YouTube channel there. Go ahead.
All right, no problem. So here we have brain inhibitors or inhibiting chemicals that block or slow the speed of transmission of messages between the brain cells. This happens when we live in a mental world dominated by negative feelings, like, for example, anger, sadness, fear, or shame, four of the main core emotions that we actually feel. Often these feelings give rise to heightened levels of anxiety and stress, releasing what I like to call the bad fuel chemicals like cortisol in the brain, which actually damages the dendrites. Now, the dendrites, if you look at this picture, are the little tentacles attached to the brain cells. When there's too much cortisol in the brain, which is a result of stress, those dendrites can actually be damaged, which make it difficult to think clearly. If these negative feelings persist over time, they can also create a suppressed immune function in the body, which ultimately negatively impacts our health. On the other hand, we have neurotransmitters, which is the good fuel chemicals such as serotonin, endorphin, and dopamine. These chemicals speed up the transmission of messages between brain cells and allow our brains to function easily, flexibly, and quickly. They're produced by, amongst other things, positive feelings like having a happy disposition. So positive emotions like optimism, love, friendliness, and kindness help our brains to fire on all cylinders. and allow us to think in an agile way, and we are able to solve problems far easier. Of course, having this disposition also makes it much easier to be present and get on with others in a collaborative way. Now, a good way to test if your brain is thinking in an agile way is to ask these questions. Am I looking but cannot see the answers? Am I hearing but not listening to what is being said? Do I have the knowledge in my mind, but I cannot verbalize or write down what I'm thinking? Am I feeling emotion, but I cannot describe that emotion? Now, if your answer is yes to any of these questions, you need to look at the underlying negative emotions that exist in your life, which are creating this state of mind, and look at ways of shifting yourself into a happier space. Now, happiness is a self-determined state of mind. Some research that has been done on happiness, it's actually Dr. Sonia Leo-Bamirsky, has done amazing research on happiness, where she discovered that 50% of your happiness is dependent on a set point, which we all have. 10% of your happiness is determined by your circumstances. For example, you buy a new car or you buy a new house, your happiness levels go up, but they return to that set point. 40%, a whopping 40% of your happiness is completely self-determined. So we need to live in a happy place for the neurotransmitters to fire in our brains so that we can solve problems critically and creatively, and we can think clearly, and we can learn effectively, and we can actually be the best we can be, best version of ourselves.
What a fantastic answer. Such a nice example as well. Thank you very much, Rich. Again, I hope people have got pen and paper there. I know a lot of people really make an effort to make some notes. As I said, this will be sent to you. So, Rich, the next question I have for you is, what sort of key lifestyle choices should we make to contribute to a more healthy emotional life? What are the key contributors and the choices we need to do and make?
To answer this question, Phil, I'd like to deal with 3 key lifestyle choices that we're faced with every day, and how by implementing these lifestyle choices, we can create an environment for a healthy physical and emotional life. The first thing I want to talk about is sleep. Now, when we have a lack of sleep, you mentioned watching a series late at night when you introduced the talk. When there is a lack of sleep, I think most of us have a similar reaction. We wake up fatigued, we wake up irritable, sometimes even teary. And, you know, without a good night's sleep, we also become forgetful, we have mood swings, we become restless, and we start experiencing heightened levels of anxiety. So having a good night's sleep is absolutely important. Also because your brain produces neurotransmitters, which deals with that fatigue and manages that fatigue and maintains physical as well as emotional well-being. When you sleep, your brain sorts through the memories of the day by dreaming. And so your subconscious mind, the clutter in your subconscious mind, is organized, and you wake up clear-minded and refreshed. Good quality sleep also helps you to be calmer, more direct, and more flexible in the tasks that you undertake during the day and in your interactions with people. It also helps your body to restore depleted resources and repair damaged cells. It's so important. It makes your mind more receptive to thinking clearly, learning effectively, and concentrating on key priorities. I want to share a few tips, Phil, about sleep, which I'm just going to put a slide up for everybody. Sorry. gosh. Okay, so I won't use the slide. I can't seem to get it up, but you won't miss out, because these are just a handful of things that you can think about. The first thing is, before you go to sleep at night, at least an hour before you go to sleep at night, try and switch off your digital devices. Get off your phone, get off your laptop, pull yourself away from the television. Because the light that you're watching through those digital devices trick your mind into thinking that it's daytime. And it's also a good time to relax before you go to sleep. People think that they can get away with 4 or 6 hours sleep a night, but it's not true. The majority of us need 7 to 9 hours of deep sleep every single night. And you need to make sure that the room that you're sleeping in is really dark. If you don't have lined curtains, it's a good idea to invest in that. The room must be silent. For example, don't have dogs or cats sleeping in your bedroom with you, because they move and they make a noise and they pull you out of deep sleep. Also, the temperature in your room needs to be a really nice room temperature between 20 and 24 Celsius. Degrees. The thing is, before you go to sleep, also try and develop a relaxing routine. It could be having a warm bath with candlelight. It could be meditation or prayer, anything that really relaxes you. And, you know, try not to take your worries to bed with you at night. And certainly try not to get into arguments with your loved ones or your family members or your friends before you go to sleep at night. Another and final tip I'd like to share on sleep is you need to get 20 minutes of direct sunlight, preferably at midday, which helps to set your biological clock. That also helps you to sleep better at night. Okay, so that's sleep. The second lifestyle choice I'd like to touch on is exercise and stretching. If you do not exercise and stretch enough during the day, your ability to think and feel in a healthy way will suffer. Research has shown that simple, repetitive movements of your muscles stimulate the presence of neurotransmitters, which we've discussed just now, in the brain, which, as I've mentioned, allow you to think agilely and clearly, because the transmission of messages is clear between brain cells. Now, apart from the obvious benefits of doing routine exercise, your brain likes a good break from your mind. You know, give your brain a break from your mind. The serotonin and endorphins that are produced from an energetic 20-minute workout will make you feel good, and it'll make you feel refreshed, and your mind will be clearer. So exercise is so important. Then the third lifestyle choice I'd like to talk about is the foods we consume and the liquids we drink every day. You know, you mentioned catching a takeout rather than cooking a healthy meal at home, Phil. Well, you know, we all do this sometimes, as we catch a fast food option. We drink an energy drink because we feel that our energy levels are low. And the problem with these types of foods and drink, as well as processed foods, is they're full of colorants and flavorants, which are not good for us. They're not conducive to mental and physical performance. In fact, they impede our ability to remain calm. We've all experienced it. You eat a hamburger, you go up, and then of course you come down. You drink an energy drink, you go up, and then of course you come down. Far better to take advantage of nature's wonderful buffet of healthy foods so that you can remain calm and relaxed during the day. So I'd like to share a couple more tips, a few more tips on eating healthily. So it's obvious that we need to cut out fast foods, and we need to cut out energy drinks and carbonated drinks as well, especially drinks that are full of sugar. We need to eat more salads, fresh fruit, and vegetables, all very, very good for our brains. We need to eat more white meats like chicken and fish, and go easy on the red meat, which tends to make us a little bit aggressive. So if you eat meat once a week or once every 2 weeks, that's quite healthy, but not really more than that. And also to cut down on alcohol. Alcohol has a direct impact on your central nervous system and is in fact a depressant. We also need to not overindulge in coffee, and we need to watch our nicotine intake. And then the one that I'm constantly trying to do, which I'm finding difficult, is to drink 8 glasses of water a day. I think once you get into the routine of it, it becomes part of what you're doing, because water oxygenates the brain, and again allows those beautiful neurotransmitters to fire the messages between your brain cells so that you can think clearer and better and live a far more healthy emotional and physical life.
Super, super. You know, I love what you're sharing there in so many areas, and I could elaborate on every single one of them. The one I would love to share with everybody is we've had such indulgence and joy out of watching the Zac Efron series on Netflix called Down to Earth. And funny enough, you talk about water, and they actually meet a water sommelier, a gentleman who has literally studied water from all over the world. And water, these bottles of water that say pure water, we need to avoid them like the plague, because they've got no nutrients in them. They've actually been stripped out of absolutely everything. And it's a fascinating scenario when he explains what composition water needs to have in it to actually fuel our bodies and give us that burst and that spurt of energy, not only just to oxygenate the brain, but to actually fulfill our bodies with the correct nutrients. So drinking pure water will rehydrate you to a degree, but it's not actually adding any value to you as a being. So for anyone out there who's interested in looking for a Netflix thing to watch, I would definitely put it on your to watch list, and that's Zac Efron, called Down to Earth. It's fascinating, and you'll get great joy out of it. And especially now that we're not able to travel much, you will see the world through where Zac Efron travels and that sort of thing, and there's a lot of value in it. Rich, the next question that I'd love to ask you is, how should we really deal with stress, worry, and anxiety? And obviously, in these unprecedented times, that's the question on so many people's minds. But in general, what is your guidance and steering for us on that question?
Okay, well, I'd like to deal with stress first, and then we'll look at worry and anxiety. Studies have shown that stress has a long-lasting negative impact on the brain. Exposure, even to a few days' stress, compromises the functionality and the neurons in your hippocampus. Now, your memories sit in your hippocampus, and it is also an important area of the brain for reasoning. As I mentioned earlier about the damage that dendrites on your brain cells get from persistent stress, stress can also permanently destroy neurons. So it's really bad. And it's a formidable threat, not only to your life, but also to your business ability, your ability to perform in business and your success. And when stress gets out of control, it affects your brain functioning, and it affects your ability to make less errors. Actually, stress makes you dumb. Don't believe anybody that tells you stress is good. It's not good for your brain. It's not good for your body, and it's not good for thinking clearly. Now, most sources of stress are actually fairly easy to overcome. Like, for example, if you're not achieving your targets or your KPIs at work, you can put a plan together to overcome that sort of problem. It's the unexpected sources of stress that take you by surprise that harm you the most. Now, research from the Friedrich Schiller University in Germany found that exposure to stimuli initiates strong negative emotions, cause subjects' brains to have a massive stress response. Whether the source of the stress is pervasive negativity, workplace bullying, feeling like a victim, or even your sort of common variety, out of control chaos, We need to try and avoid these states of stress as much as we can. Being able to remain calm under pressure has a direct link on your performance at home and at work, and we all know that. Emotionally intelligent people maintain a distance from those stress triggers that cause negative emotions in them. In fact, the key is to recognize when someone or some situation is pushing your stress buttons, and recognize how you're feeling, and smile, step back, take a breath, and then respond. If we react, we're going to make the stress even worse. Another good way of dealing with stress is laughter. You know, we've heard about laughter being the best medicine. Well, what happens is when you smile, neurotransmitters get released in your brain. So serotonin and endorphin go into your brain, which not only relaxes you, but it also lowers your heart rate and your pulse and makes it easier for you to confront the situation that is causing you to feel stressed out. So if you're feeling stressed, smile, laugh, it works. Another thing that works, especially for me, is prayer and meditation. I think is a wonderful way to deal with stress. You know, often our problems are a lot smaller than we think they are in the moment. And by doing meditative reflection, we can see this. And, you know, I think it's so helpful to believe in a higher being because you don't feel alone and you don't feel that you have to do all the heavy lifting. So there is help at hand. Now getting on to worry and anxiety, Phil. Both of them are complementary bedfellows. The worrying mind often loops in a cycle of low-grade melodrama with one thought leading to one thought and back and so forth. When this becomes a habit and goes unchallenged, it can cause continuous heightened levels of anxiety and fear of what is to come in your life. Now, the key is to catch the worrisome thought at its inception. When you see the sight, when you hear the sound, when you feel the feeling that is starting to ignite that worrying thought, know that you are starting to worry. And the next thing you should do is you should challenge the source of your worry. Ask yourself, is it real or imagined? Are you overreacting or is it a real problem? The next thing you should do is offer yourself a plausible alternative viewpoint, which is objective and perhaps fact-based, that includes a simple plan to execute a solution to the problem. Now, when a worrying thought is allowed to keep going and repeat itself over and over again, it gains in persuasive power. Challenging it by creating a plausible alternative viewpoint stops it from being taken as true and gives you options in how to deal with it. Now, it doesn't always work, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed by anxiety. And often when I feel overwhelmed, I'll take a walk or I'll find a place where it's serene and relaxed, and I concentrate on my breathing. Now, you can do this even in the midst of a storm, simply by closing your eyes, concentrating on your breathing, and imagining that you're somewhere else. I call this going to my secret garden, and it's a great way to reduce anxiety. Your secret garden could be a place in your past, surely in your memory, deeply imprinted in your memory. For example, a deserted beach, a lovely cabin in the woods where you once spent a holiday. It could be imagining yourself lying on a fluffy cloud. Whatever is good for you in terms of creating your secret garden is so important. Another key thing is that
We've lost connection for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Just bear with us for a second. I think Richard will come back shortly.
Yourself in this landscape. Imagine the feelings that you feel in the secret garden. It will give you some perspective of that visualization state. If you're a chronic warrior, finally on this question, if you're a chronic warrior and tend to take your worries to bed, use this visualization technique before going to bed. It will reduce your anxiety and it will put you into a far better space where you can fall asleep pleasantly.
Phenomenal and really phenomenal words of guidance and advice there, Richard. You know, I put that so much of that into practice, and I know through the organization, through the British School of Etiquette, we have really given people these tools who've put them into practice, and the feedback and people's you change your life by adopting a regime like that. And it's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, Richard and I were very fortunate. We were invited onto HIT Talks, which is Hope, Inspiration and Transformation, which is run, it's on YouTube, and it's going to be eventually transmitted onto a television channel. And we were asked to speak for 8 minutes. So it was 48 people, 8 minutes on the 8th of November. It's very much to do with the Mayan calendar as well. And the gentleman that was speaking a few before me, he was really sharing an incredible story about how he was really this close to ending his life. He said, I had everything at my fingertips, wonderful wife, wonderful family, but I was my mindset and my depression and everything. And he got drawn into and was introduced into meditation. And it changed his life. It literally did. So people who don't understand meditation or who are not sure about it, it's not cloud cuckoo land. It is literally learning to breathe, learning to, centralize your thoughts, concentrating on your breath. And he gave us actually a very interesting exercise on that particular evening. He said, if we place our hand over here on our chests, and we place our hand like this in while we're sitting, or mainly when you're sitting, and you literally feel your breath, because when we're anxious and when we feel very, very concerned and we're stressed, our breath takes place in this part of our bodies. It feels like we're sometimes that feeling, I'm sure we've all had it, that choking. And actually when all of a sudden you breathe and then you place your hands down like this on the chair and you start to focus on your breath and you bring it down into the central part of your being, of your core, and you just literally close your eyes and you think about nothing else. And you can do that for 10 minutes. And during a day when you've got a very stressful job, you're going from meeting to meeting, especially now with Zoom calls, you take time just to have a 5 minutes meditation session, that 5-minute prayer session, that 5-minute gratitude journey, that 10-minute walk around the block. For those of you who've got an excuse of, I've got a little small poodle, I literally come rain, whatever weather, I literally get out there and I go for a walk around the block. And it's amazing how effective that is and how much more effective I become, for example. And those are just a few small examples. So I can't reiterate enough on the things that Richard has just shared with us are hugely important in our lives. And everything that Richard is talking about and that we share with you is crucial. So if you take these steps and the guidance we are imparting and knowledge we're sharing with you, boom, you can really change your life fundamentally right across the board. And Rich, that leads me on to the next sort of question is why is the way that we talk to ourselves key to achieving these positive sort of mindset and breakthroughs in our life? Why? What is the benefit and the rationale behind all of that?
Well, Phil, when I teach leadership, I often teach managers how to have important conversations with their staff to inspire and motivate their people. And I can think of a number of types of conversations that you could have as a business owner or as a manager with your team members. For example, you could have a purpose and meaning conversation. You could have a conversation to celebrate success. You could have that dreaded accountability conversation or performance review. You could have a problem-solving conversation. You could have a conversation about individual performance or specific performance, or you could have a coaching session. So conversations are so important in our lives in developing and building performance and building relationships. You know, closer to home, partners or spouses will have conversations about finances and about the kids, and about the future and about the past. So we have many, many conversations in our lives with different people. But I want to say tonight that the most important conversation that you have is the conversation you have with yourself. Now, in these conversations that we have with ourselves, if they are negative, they will create negative feelings, which are often deeply detrimental to our sense of self and the results we get in our life. If, for example, you repeat a negative sentiment like, I'm not good enough, or she won't like me because I'm overweight, you perpetuate a negative paradigm and so create negative feelings, which, as we have learned, will generate inhibiting chemicals in your brain, which will stop you from achieving what you are capable of. Feelings of low self-esteem and hopelessness are further heightened when we generalize about ourselves or about others. For example, if we say, you always, or I always, or you never, or we never, followed by a criticism or negative sentiment. Now, firstly, a generalization like that cannot be true all the time. And secondly, a blanket observation which takes away any hope of improvement is not only self-defeating, it's bad for your emotional state and your relationships. Instead of saying, for example, I always mess up, you could say, this time I didn't do so well. Instead of saying, you always treat me badly, you could say, this time I felt that you didn't take my feelings into account when we did X, Y, and Z. So when we become more specific about our self-criticisms and our criticisms of others, we open the door to self-improvement because each situation is treated uniquely, and we can create a unique solution for that specific scenario. Now, often our negative self-talk is so subtle that we don't even know that we're doing it. And this is why in emotional intelligence, we talk about developing your own consciousness or self-awareness so that you can catch the thought, the feeling, and the action at its source and adjust and change so that you don't perpetuate a negative paradigm, but you create a positive paradigm where you start talking to yourself in a positive way. Now, if you believe that if you believe in the law of attraction, which is each thought of yours is like a magnet that gives you the same conditions that are expressed by your thoughts, you will change your thought life to be more positive and more specific about the conversations you have with yourself. Doing this is a sure way of making yourself happier and ensuring an emotional and physical life which is fed by the right fuel, by the neurotransmitters, so that you can be happier and live in harmony with your life, with your people in your life, and with the world that you live in.
What a great answer. Thank you. It's a bit of feedback. So what a great answer. That really is superb. And it's again, taking ownership again and digging deep and really understanding what triggers you. And again, this is what, you know, through the programs that we run, and I know, Rich, this is something very close to your heart because it's something that you, through EQ, were able to really transform your life, you know, completely, boom, right around. And I know I've known you for many, many years, and I truly believe that if you hadn't have gone down this route of, you know, if you weren't an academic and you didn't really focus with the core focus that you had on EQ and, you know, how to change your life, I don't think we would be having this conversation right now. So, you know, for me, it is hugely heartwarming, and the power of what you're sharing with everyone. You know, it's not that you just read this out of a book, you've actually implemented it into your life. And I've just seen, and you've shared so much with me and how much it's helped me in my life just through some of the tools that you impart on what you've discovered on your journey. So, you know, it's something which I just hold very dear to my heart, and I'm eternally grateful for your knowledge and your patience and understanding in this area. And you know, it's such a fascinating thing, Rich, when people at your level of understanding the subject start getting compared to the top leaders in this industry. You know, the people who've been, you know, gone through the most incredible studies, and you are right up there with incredible people, and I know certain people have actually compared you to some of the key leaders in this industry. So it's just an extraordinary journey. Now, my next final question to you for this evening is, how does a positive attitude and a growth mindset really contribute to our success on a personal as well as a business level? How does this make that huge impact?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. You know, for me, attitude and mindset are basically synonymous. We've all heard about how our attitude determines our altitude. Well, it's our mindset that actually gets us there. A professor of psychology at Stanford University, Dr. Carol Dweck, she spent her entire career studying how attitude impacts performance and success. And she's found in her latest study that attitude is a far more accurate determinant of success than IQ. She found that people's core attitudes fall into one of two categories, either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Now, with a fixed mindset, people believe that they are made the way they are and they cannot change. This causes problems when you're challenged, because anything that appears to be more than you can cope with creates this feeling of hopelessness and you feel overwhelmed. Now, people with a growth mindset believe that they can improve their lives with effort. And because of this, they very invariably outperform those with a fixed mindset and even people with a higher IQ. They embrace the challenges that life throws at them and treat these challenges as opportunities to learn and grow. Phil, I'm going to try and share my screen because it's a great slide to finish off with.
It's coming up.
Okay, give me a sec. Okay. One sec, here it comes.
It's coming up now, Rich. There it is. There we go.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, you'll see the fixed mindset. On the right-hand side, you'll see a growth mindset. Now, in our minds, it would seem like having an ability like being smart inspires confidence in ourselves and in others. Yes, it does, but only when the going is easy. When things get tough and we have to handle new challenges and experience setbacks, people with a growth mindset tend to do very well, often welcoming setbacks with open arms. Now, according to Dr. Dweck, who actually created this model, success in life is about how you deal with failure. She describes the approach to failure with a growth mindset by saying, failure is information. We label it failure, but it's more like, this didn't work, and I'm a problem solver, so I'll try something else. And as you can see, looking and learning is the key mindset to have when you have a growth mindset. Everything that you experience is an opportunity to learn. People with a growth mindset embrace challenges. In fact, they look forward to them because they can pitch their abilities against those challenges. They persist in the face of setbacks. They get up the 8th time after being knocked down 7 times. And they see the path to mastery, the effort, as a path to mastery. And we all know that when you achieve mastery in anything you do in life, things become a lot easier for you. And I think this is the big thing, Phil, is people with a growth mindset welcome criticism. Too often, we get angry when people criticize us. That is having a fixed mindset. When we welcome criticism because we see it as a gift to learn, we are living with a growth mindset. And that will help you to achieve success in your life, not only in business, but also in your relationships. I just want to finish off with a couple of quotes. Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." In other words, we have to shift our mindset in order to solve our problems. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, either way you are right." Simply put, a positive mindset produces positive performance and an emotional and biological state that supports it. People with a growth mindset discover why they are alive, what is their purpose, what is their meaning in life, with passion. They are highly attuned to their unique talents and the gifts they were given to at birth, and they invest time that is needed to bring these gifts and talents to fruition without being put off by setbacks.
Great. And again, I love this idea of, the growth versus fixed mindset. And funny enough, in our teenage programs, mindset and manners, this is something we really take a huge amount of time and energy on in working with our youngsters, and giving them the tools and the skills and the examples attached with stories in helping them on this incredible opportunity to grow their minds and grow and keep a growth mindset. So this is very close to my heart again, something that I advocate 100%. And I love those analogies. Henry Ford, phenomenal. If you think you can or you think you can't, both times you're going to be right. And again, there's that famous scenario of Charles Edison, the gentleman who we all know invented the incredible light bulb. He never once said he failed. Never once. He said, I learned X amount of 1,000 times how not, or I got closer to. And this is exactly how I think if we all make this effort to shift our minds on this level, on this channel, it's incredible what can happen. It really is. So Rich, if you wanted to stop sharing, I would love to just say thank you so much, Rich, for your input there and for these words and the amount of time and effort and energy you've just put into this incredible webinar. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who've joined us during the course of the webinar and who are on this webinar already for the first time, Richard heads up the EQ faculty here at the British School of Etiquette. And some of you have had the incredible opportunity and I'd like to say privilege of engaging with the British School of Etiquette, coming on incredible journeys and courses with us. Your lives have changed. You've had incredible experiences. The lives around you have changed, and people have just, you've really made huge steps forward in your lives. And Richard and I were talking this evening, and we really have got an incredible offer for you, and that is we would love to give you our free time, 15, 20 minutes of our time to engage in a conversation with you on any level. Now, this is possible if you go to the EQ website, EQ part of the website, and at the bottom part of the website, there's a book a Zoom call with Richard, or you could email Orsa, who's our incredible colleague, who really is the driving force behind the British School of Etiquette, and you email her at hello@thebritishschoolofetiquette.com, and you can book a time slot or inquire when it might suit one of us to connect and engage with you. And that comes from the bottom of our hearts. Right now, Richard mentioned earlier in the first part of the webinar is about the importance of communication, the importance of connecting with people. And more so now than ever before, this is the time to communicate and connect. And for those of you who are doing business, for those of you who are running your own businesses, who are in business, please forget hiding behind electronic communication as in emails and text messages and that sort of thing, and focus on picking up a phone, focus on having that Zoom conference or that Zoom call with people. It is hugely, hugely powerful. It builds us, it creates and releases very positive endorphins in our being. So don't ever underestimate the importance and the power of communication. And before we go into the questions and answers, so please, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything that you would like to share with us, any questions you have for this evening, please start to put them in the Q&A box. Rich, in the meantime, while people are coming up, typing in questions, I'd love you to share some of the areas that you have got available to share with our incredible audience on what's available at their fingertips with what we're doing right now.
Thank you so much, Phil. I just want to bring up the right slide. First, let me say it's been an absolute pleasure being with you this evening, as always. And I would just like the opportunity to share with all of you this evening the 3 EQ programs that we've got in the EQ faculty at the British School of Etiquette. Our entry-level program, which is a short 3-hour mediated session with me, which I run on Zoom, is a fantastic course called Know Yourself, Know Others, where we pull away the veil and we allow you to see yourself in a different way for the first time. You will discover on this course what your dominant personality is, how you like to communicate, how you like to solve problems, how you like to make decisions, and what type of information and how you like to receive information and so on. We also tap into Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences theory to help you discover what your dominant type of intelligence is, which is incredibly illuminating and very important for your career going forward, so that you choose an occupation or work or a task that suits your strengths. We end off the program with the 5 love languages, where you will discover what your preferred love language is. It's not only very instructive for your close relationships, but also how to motivate and inspire people around you. If you know the love languages, you know how to inspire and motivate them. So at £135, this is really, really good value. I'd like to share then our foundational and intermediary emotional intelligence program, which is called Emotional Intelligence and Personal Mastery. This is a 3-week program. We're starting our next cohort on the 17th of November. The sessions are 2.5 hours long. There are 5 modules on the course, and you will receive 5 of my own researched and written books of knowledge on each module. There are 24 life-changing exercises in this program, and we have just recently had the program accredited by the CPD Standards United Kingdom, where if you're a professional, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant, if you attend this course, you will be allocated 22.5 hours towards your CPD for the year. The premium program that we have in the EQ faculty is called Leading with Emotional Intelligence, and it includes the first 5 modules, which you would attend on the EI and Personal Mastery program, as well as 2 additional modules called Leading a Diverse Team and Leading Your Team to Greatness. On both programs, we talk about the core of emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management skills, and both are started off with an introduction to emotional intelligence, so you truly understand what it is. There are 7 2.5-hour mediated sessions on this course, which runs over 4 weeks. We've changed our start time to 6 p.m. UK time, to allow people time to get home and join the course in the evening. This course is also accredited by CPD Standards UK. You get 31.5 hours. That includes your reading and exercises, as well as the online session with me. The course is also certified and accredited by the Institute of Leadership and Management in the United Kingdom. You'll get a certificate from them, as well as a CPD certificate. And you also get to join the Institute of Leadership and Management and enjoy the membership for a year. So these are the 3 programs. If you really want to improve your life, become the best version of yourself, and invest in your communication and leadership skills, come and join me on one of these courses, and it will be truly life-changing. I'm running a course at the moment. The results are extraordinary. People are literally changing in front of my eyes.
Rich, brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Rich, do you, out of interest on your screen, have access to the Q&A?
I don't actually, Phil.
Okay, not a problem. No,
so I'll have to rely on you.
There's a fantastic question. There are 2 wonderful questions in the Q&A, and then I'm going to go to the chat box. The first question is from Dobrokna. And Dobra is an incredibly skilled young lady. She's been through actually our core Train the Trainer program here in the UK, and is an advocate of etiquette, manners, and life skills. And she actually runs programs and courses out of Spain. And she's got a fantastic question. And Dobrokna, so lovely to see you. Jinkoi, thank you so much for being here. You know, by getting a good night's sleep, do you mean only to sleep 8-9 hours, or there are also certain hours when you should be asleep? For example, you should fall asleep before midnight and so on.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you very much, Dobrokna. It is absolutely true, and it's not a wives' tale. The amount of sleep you get before midnight is equal to double the amount of sleep after midnight. So if you go to sleep at 10 o'clock in the evening, those 2 hours of sleep are worth 4 hours of sleep after midnight. So it's not a wives' tale. It's a good idea to get into bed 9, 10 o'clock in the evening, and try and get at least 7 hours sleep from then, and if you require it, up to 9 hours sleep a night.
Excellent. Here's an incredible question from Rena, and she has also shared that, okay, we've just been talking about it, but I really would love to sort of delve into this. So, you know, firstly, great compliments, really enjoying the rich conversation. Would you have a specific session for younger people in their teens? As a mum, I have built up my own ability to adapt to the COVID situation by doing exercises and staying positive. Now, I find it hard to motivate my children. They have not experienced much in their lives, and obviously in becoming agile and adaptable, they seem to be flat for their age. And I understand as they should be out and about with their friends and be teenagers and kids, they can't do that. They are missing a natural sort of growing phase to meet their friends, to sort of grow and develop their emotions and their health, the emotional sort of health side of things. And would you be hosting a session for younger people in the future? Now, Rena, that's a great thing, and thank you for taking the time to type that out. Richard and I are absolutely focused on this. It's at the core of our development, one of our development programs, and we are going to be introducing a program very, very shortly. So mindset and manners, we absolutely get involved in this area. It's a good taster. It's fantastic. It's a good foundation. And then Richard and I are developing a program which is going to be put at a higher level with some phenomenal exercises involved to really help our young teens to adapt and to build this mindset of theirs in a very positive sort of light. So it's definitely in the pipeline. Okay, right. So Jane's come in with a question here. Good evening. Thank you for your guidance and time. I understand and agree with what you have said this evening. However, I find myself stuck and not knowing how to release that and get on with thinking, taking the steps that you've provided. Do you have any advice on how to overcome these blocks? Now, Jane, for me, I would take time to book a call with Rich for a start, and he can really give you some guidance and steering. Rich, I'd love to hand over to you for you to give Jane some guidance here right now. Did you hear that?
I'm with you, Phil. I froze there for a second. Yes, Jane, I would love to talk to you personally. And I you know, because I've got questions to ask actually from the question that you have posed us. So please book a Zoom call with me. It certainly won't be a sales call. It will be a call where I can talk to you about those steps that you can take to unlock yourself. I'm not sure from what, and that's what I need to hear from you. Or you can email me at richard@thebritishschoolofetiquette.com, and you can give me a brief overview of what you want to discuss, and we could set up a separate Zoom, and not just off the website. And I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to help you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rich. Naomi, Richard, hello from Naomi to you and me, Rich. Thank you, Naomi. Hello. Maria has come up with a great question, and I love this. Can we go from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset and the other way around, depending on the moment in our life?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Maria, and thank you for answering that, because I think people do sort of backslide in their lives. They get caught up in one paradigm, and they develop negative habits. But I think once you break through and you start developing a growth mindset, and you choose to instruct your mind to look and learn rather than just think you smart, then everything changes. So, you know, I do believe that we can create new neural pathways of thinking in our brains by repeating to ourselves over and over again that I'm going to look and learn today. I'm going to look and learn today. Everything that I experience, I'm going to experience it and learn from it. When you do that over and over again, it's like neurolinguistic programming. You won't really go back into a fixed mindset. And then, you know, when you start seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and to challenge yourself, when you see setbacks as opportunities to grow, when you hear criticism and you welcome it, that is a massive change that you make in your life. So I think initially, when you are trying to develop a growth mindset, you will shift back into a fixed mindset and then back into a growth mindset. But if you remain committed and you practice the thought process, eventually you will have a growth mindset, and it'll impact everything in your life.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rich. And I know Maria, who's just an advocate and spent so many wonderful hours together with the British School of Etiquette. She's been through various programs. I know she recently attended your Know Yourself, Know Others, and I know the feedback that Maria gave was exemplary. So thank you, Maria.
Yes.
You know, obrigado. Thank you. Tyler Cassidy's asked an interesting question. And that question is very much along the lines of, what is the best way to deal with psychosomatic triggers, the mind affecting the body?
Okay. You know, if we look at psychosomatic triggers, unless it's a chronic condition that you're talking about, where I feel able to answer that question is where certain thoughts will trigger certain emotions in you, which then become your actions. So I cannot answer from a chronic condition point of view. For example, autism, or any psychological condition that is outside of the norm. But if you have a negative thought, for example, about yourself, which is triggered by something that happened in your past, that memory sits in your hippocampus. And when you experience something similar, it will trigger the same response that you had in your past, unless you intervene. And the amazing thing is you can intervene, because your hippocampus is one site in the brain where there's neuroplasticity, and you can literally change things. Unless you rewrite your story about what the source of that thought was, and you build a new affirmation, and you create a new story, and you rewire your brain, the next time you see, hear, feel, think that same thought, it will not create the same trigger, provided you are prepared to put in the hard work, the awareness required, the consciousness required, and the hard work required to make that the new affirmation that you create for yourself stick in your mind, so that you rewire your brain. And I'm not the only person that says you can do this. Anthony Robbins teaches it. Dr. Caroline Leaf teaches it. And it's something we deal with very deeply and on purpose in our self-awareness module on our EQ programs.
Super, great answer. Thank you for that incredible knowledge. Naomi's come up with a very sort of challenging question here, and it's a tough one. How do you keep managing your emotions in the face of toxic family members? And by that she means, by family members, I mean those who are always around you and you can't really avoid.
We've had this question before, Phil. Yeah. It's really difficult. It's really difficult, especially if that family member is in your home. If you were in a work environment and your boss was toxic, I would suggest you find another job, because, you know, we leave companies because of bosses and not because of companies. But unfortunately, in the home environment, you need to persevere. And the best way is to be the best example of an emotionally intelligent person around that person. And instead of judging, try to accept them, and try to learn what might be the complexities behind their toxicity, and see if you can help them overcome this negative approach to life or negative approach to relationships. If it's a family member, you know, we know blood is thicker than water. I would never give up on a family member. You know, as Phil said, I've changed my life completely through the adoption of emotional intelligence skills in my life. And I had toxic relationships. I had really difficult relationships over 2 years ago, which I've managed to heal very successfully by employing key emotional intelligence skills, particularly relationship management skills, where we look at in our course, for example, how to resolve conflict, how to build trust, how to handle change, and so on. So it's a long road. There is no quick answer. But I think having a mindset of acceptance, and then a mindset of looking to learn about that person and being the example for them of what it means like to be an emotionally intelligent and enjoyable person to be around, will encourage them to want to also change themselves.
Super. Rich, that's a fantastic answer. I can elaborate on that as well, Naomi. And I think, you know, it's buy-in. You've really got, it's communication, it's buy-in, and adopting the tools that Rich has just shared with you are fundamental. And again, I think, you know, there's nothing better than setting an example, A, but B, you know, it's going down the road of being able to whether they're all interested in something along the lines of cognitive behavioral therapy and talking it out with a mediator, that is a good step in the right direction as well. It really is. There are many, I suppose there are quite a few answers to your very in-depth and heartfelt question. Again, we say, and as Richard said, you know, if it comes to sort of business and you've got friends that are toxic, you just separate yourself from those people, you know, surround yourself with good and positive people. And when it does come to family, one doesn't want to give up on family, but there are ways that we may have to sort of distance ourselves or take a step back at times. And yeah, this can go into quite a deep conversation. So I'll leave it there, but thank you very much for being so open and sharing, Naomi. It's very, very kind of you. Right, so we've got a fantastic question coming in here. Rena's come in and said, thank you, Rich, are you there? Richard?
Yes, Phil, I apologize for that.
No, I know your internet jumps around. So, right, so Richard, so firstly, Mira, who I'm sending a big hug to Mira all the way in the USA. This is a great question. Sunlight during the winters, obviously it's very, very, very difficult, and I know especially here in the UK, but is it beneficial just to get outdoors? Because I know for a fact that I was, funny enough, talking to a dermatologist many years ago, and he said even when it's the winter here in the UK, because of the UV rays, we should still be wearing a factor 15 moisturizer on our face, which will give you that protection. So Mira, I think it's, and to everybody out there, getting outdoors, going for that walk, getting some fresh air is going to add huge value. It put it this way, it can't be negative. That's for sure. I know Richard's frozen, so let's just, I'll go on with the questions here. So thank you, Richard, for the relatable answers. I completely agree with the conversation with ourselves. I talk to myself when I run. I thought I was mad. Talking nicely to myself helps me to appreciate myself more. I also praise myself a little. Boom. Thank you for sharing that, Rena. That is so, so powerful. And it works, ladies and gentlemen. Positive affirmations. You know, we work with the teenagers, and sorry, let me just get a thing here. We've got our mindset and manners, and funny enough, in here we actually give our students an exercise to work on their positive affirmations. We give them the tools to really work out ways to shift their mindset, and we get them to sort of ways to change your mood. And one of the areas is by implementing these positive affirmations. You know, when you're having a shower, or sorry, not so much a shower, but when men, if you're shaving, ladies, when you're putting your makeup on, have these incredible positive things that are realistic. They need to be achievable. You know, it's exactly like setting a goal for yourself. We talk about the SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time manageable. And this is exactly the situation when it comes to, you know, be gentle on yourself, praise yourself. And we often forget to do this. So Rena, what a great interlude there. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Right, so what other questions are coming in here? Olga said, thank you. This is thanks for this opportunity to learn from Naomi again. Jennifer Speed, thank you so much from Jamaica. Just some nice thank yous coming in here. Great information, self-improvement. Anyone else? Thanks so much. Some just very nice thank yous. I'm just going back to the Q&As here. So I believe that's really it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Richard's all the way in South Africa, and I do know that every now and then in Africa, they do have power outages. So again, thank goodness we were able to get to this stage of this webinar. We at the British School of Etiquette are sending you a huge virtual hug. We thank you so much for your valuable time, because you've given up incredible, valuable time. As I said, this will be sent to you. So if you missed any parts of this, you will be able to listen again. And we really, really look forward to, you know, you keeping in touch with us. Register for our newsletter, because our colleague Orsa, Richard, and so many of our team write incredible articles to try and give you some guidance and tools and help you, not just through these challenging times, but through life. And this is what we're here for. So a huge thank you from all of us here at the British School of Etiquette. I wish you a fantastic rest of your week, and wherever you are in the world, whether it's good night or enjoy your day, thank you, thank you, thank you, and best wishes. Rich, you're back.
Hi, Phil. Sorry about that.
No, I just explained. Rich, I've just said thank you to everybody, and I know we've had an incredible audience tonight. We've had over 50 people on at one stage, and
Wonderful.
Just now only a few have dropped off the back of my goodbyes. So again, Rich, I have to, from the bottom of my heart, to say a huge thank you for that incredible knowledge and for guidance and steering. And I look forward to catching up with you tomorrow.
Philly, thanks so much for setting up this webinar, and whoever's still on the webinar, I'd just like to thank you for investing in yourself tonight, and I hope and pray that we can be part of your self-improvement journey as you move forward in life. And I look forward to meeting you, whether it's on a Zoom session or in one of my classes. I know it'll be real and it'll be great. And good night from South Africa.
Thank you, my friend.